Hi, this is Mike from Game Builders Academy, and today I'll be showing you a very quick condensed version of one of the first lessons from our video game development class. Okay, so the first thing you see here is the software that we use, called GameMaker, but before we even get into that, I'd like to talk about one of the first discussions we have with our students, which asks the question, what do you think we need to make a video game? Now, this is a great discussion to start off with because it gets students thinking about the games they play at home, and it gets them pretty excited. But the first thing we always start off with is the main character for the game. Alright, so to make the main character, there's a few different things we need. The first thing we need is called a sprite, which is basically just the image, or what the character is going to look like. Now you have two different options when you're creating a sprite. You could either find an image from the internet, or a file from the computer, or you can draw it yourself, which is what we usually like to do. So as you can see here, GameMaker has its very own built-in drawing program. This is great because by the end of the course, every single student's game will look completely unique. It's also a great way to bring art back into the classroom. Now that our sprite's finished, it's time to make something called an object. This is where we'll give instructions, or programming, to the character. Actually, we usually let students try to test and play their games before they add any programming at all. The first thing they notice is that when they try to move the character around the screen using the arrow keys, nothing happens. We do walk students into this trap for a reason. This is the first time when they realize that nothing will work automatically. If they want something to happen in their games, they have to program it to happen. Since moving the character around is usually the first thing students try to do, that's what we'll program first. Okay, all the programming we do is called event-driven programming. Basically, the idea is when an event takes place, an action occurs. This is the same concept as cause and effect, or the words if and then. With that, let's create our first event for moving the character to the right. So, if I press the right arrow key, there's our event, then the character should move right. Now, when it comes time to set that action for the character to move right, students are faced with something that they may find surprising. Suddenly, the letters X and Y appear on the screen. This is a crucial part of our curriculum and is really the heart of what we do. This is the first of many educational connection lessons in our curriculum. This is where we answer the question, when am I ever going to use this stuff? Let me continue to give you a better idea of how this works. At this point, we draw a symbol on the board and ask students to tell us anything that comes to mind when they look at it. At first you might get answers such as a big plus sign, a compass, or maybe a graph, which are all great answers. But then you get the amazing answers, like right angles, intersecting perpendicular lines, the x and y axes, Cartesian coordinates, and these are just a few of the incredible answers that students are breaking their arms to give us, even if it's after a long day of school or on an early Saturday morning. It's an amazing thing to see. Finally, students start to make the connection between the graph and their games. After discussing how the x-axis controls horizontal directions, it becomes apparent that the x-axis must be used to make the character move right. But it still needs more information. How will it know to move right rather than left? Well, think of the character as the origin of the graph. Because numbers get larger as you go to the right along the x-axis, and smaller as you go to the left, try adding a positive number for x. Sure enough, students will try and test their games again, and lo and behold, their character can now move right. At this point, students are overjoyed in seeing their character move, and you'll hear it across the room. It's one of those magic moments in class, and it's all possible thanks to a math lesson. After this, students almost immediately try programming the other movements, and after just a bit more work, their character that was previously motionless is now moving all across the screen. By the end of the course, students will have created a fully working game, such as the one you see here. Then they'll be able to take their games home for friends and family to play, or even email them or post them on a website for the world to see. That graphing lesson was just one of the many educational connections you can find throughout our curriculum. And between the applied math and science lessons, vocabulary scattered across every page, the student tutorials, the appendices, and much more, this doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what you'll find in our Curriculum in a Box offering. Well, that's about it. I hope you found this demo informative, and I hope you had some fun with it too. Because if you did, well, just wait and see how your students will react. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.